I mean, I think we can all agree that the perfect dessert to a terrific lunch is a discussion of important trends for eDiscovery, which were identified in the 2026 State of the Industry report published by eDiscovery Today earlier this month. So that's what I'm here to talk about. And for what it's worth, this is not my first rodeo. That's me in the picture last year. So that is me. I am, click on the link if you want to know more about me, or if you want to connect on LinkedIn. By the way, hat tip to the eDiscovery Today graphics department, otherwise known as Notebook LM, which I used to help create these slides when I realized they were past due. Notebook LM creates amazing looking slides, but it's also AI, so it gets a few things wrong, and I'll try to point those out as we go. So I'm only going to cover about 2% of the State of the Industry report, but you can get the full report, and all reports that eDiscovery Today publishes free, not to mention daily eDiscovery trends and best practices, by subscribing by email to eDiscovery Today at eDiscoverytoday.com. We're just about to also release a paper on evaluating methods for review in eDiscovery, so subscribing will get you that one too, and any other report we publish. Our lofty goal this year is to publish 12 educational reports and papers, so wish us luck. So, this is the 6th year of the State of the Industry report, and the report is comprised of 2 components: a broad industry survey on 10 eDiscovery trends and thought leader observations on the same trends. We had a record number of respondents to the survey every year, and we had 559 respondents this year, and we also had 62 thought leaders this year providing observations. And here's a breakout of the groups with corporate and government entity respondents at the highest level we've ever had. Each topic is broken down among the top 5 groups, so you can check out trends group by group. So on to the trends. No surprise, the Gen AI party's already started, at least in terms of sentiment. Over a third of respondents expect Gen AI to be transformative for eDiscovery workflows this year, but nearly a quarter of respondents believe Gen AI is already transformative, a new question we asked this year. So that means 3 in 5 expects Gen AI to be transformative for eDiscovery by the end of the year, and that's more than double last year's number. We'll come back to that already transformative number in a couple of slides. So what are we using Gen AI for in eDiscovery? It might be easier to say what we're not using it for. This is the 2nd year we've asked this question, and the percentage of 559 respondents that applied Gen AI to eDiscovery use cases went up for every single use case, with more than 40% of respondents applying Gen AI to 7 different use cases. And that's with us attempting to clarify the question this year, to limit the response to use on actual cases, not demos or testing. The biggest movers up were ECA, up about 12%, and timelines of key events, up about 13%. So we may be using Gen AI on cases, but apparently not that many cases, at least not yet. 23.3% of respondents say that Gen AI is already transformative, but only 17.7% use it in all or most of their cases. If something's transformative, wouldn't you be using it as much as you could? I would think so. So there may be some hype in that first number. Also, as you can see at the bottom there, almost half of respondents use Gen AI in very few or none of their cases. Still, those numbers represent improvements from last year, 5.4% improvement on the high end and 17.5% improvement on the low end. So progress crawls along. So if Gen AI is going to replace predictive coding, somebody forgot to tell eDiscovery practitioners. We've asked the percentage of cases using predictive coding question all 6 years of the survey, and this is the first time that more than a third of respondents said they use predictive coding in all or most of their cases. In fact, the last 3 years, the Gen AI years, are the only years where the all or most groups were higher than the very few or none groups. Maybe predictive coding should send Gen AI a thank you card. I don't know. But we did see a slight bump up to 26.9% of those who use it in very few or none of their cases. So it's not all good news. Several of the thought leaders said they're seeing practitioners use both Gen AI and predictive coding in eDiscovery workflows. So that would seem to indicate that it's not going away anytime soon. So on to modern data trends, and we'll start with mobile device discovery, which is kind of, it's been essentially treading water over the past couple of years, with this year having 38% of respondents saying they collect for mobile devices in all or most of their cases, which is 0.5% better than last year, while 20.6% said they use it in very few or none of their cases, which is nearly 1% worse than last year. The biggest impediment to adoption of mobile device discovery continues to be corporations, whose ratios you can see in the bottom there is inverse at 1 to 2. With cases like in-ray pork litigation and the case the team discussed earlier today, Allergan versus Revance Therapeutics, finding that BYOD devices are not in the possession, custody, or control of the organization, many corporations haven't been motivated to address this data source regularly. Conversely, cases involving collaboration app data continue to rise. 42.5% of respondents said they have it in all or most of their cases. Only 15.2% said they have it in very few or none of their cases. Corporations are much more gung-ho here, 64.1% on the high side, only 9.4% on the low side, but that's nothing compared to the nearly 28-to-1 ratio that consultants have, as you can see on the right side of this slide. Oh, and despite my instructions, the AI seems to think that Teams and Slack are the only collaboration apps out there. So go figure that. The business of eDiscovery was a new question we asked this year, sort of. We asked it the first 2 years, then brought it back this year with new choices. And as you can see here, 33.8% of respondents expect, or maybe hope, that increased pricing pressure and a push towards I knew I was going to struggle on that word, commoditization for AI will be the top business trend of 2026. We'll see if that's wishful thinking by some, or if it's a reality as the year progresses. For the second year in a row, we asked the question whether hyperlink files should be treated as modern attachments. This year, we added a choice that they should be, but only if the parties negotiate, which is where most of the cases seem to be heading so far. And that turned out to be the top choice at 40.5% of respondents. Of course, the Debbie Downer in me would say that means nearly 60% don't want to negotiate. But regardless, as you can see, only 18% said they should not be produced as modern attachments with their corresponding emails, with a draconian 2.5% saying they shouldn't be produced at all. So what's expected to be the biggest trend of 2026? 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. Of course, it's AI. The last 2 years, increased use of AI technology in eDiscovery was far and away the leader among 8 categories. This year, we decided to add a 9th category, discovery of AI content, and we thought that might cut into the percentage for increased use of AI, and it did by a whopping 0.7%. So the AI categories got more than 70% of responses, leaving the other 7 categories to fight over the remaining 30% of responses. I'm almost done. 1 more. All right. That leads us to our last topic. And once again, the first and second rules of lack of eDiscovery competence is that we don't talk about lack of eDiscovery competence. Its place is the top challenge for all 6 years. Deepfakes and authentication was a surprising 2nd place. The AI said it debuted in 2nd place, but that was wrong. This, by the way, is the lowest number that lack of eDiscovery competence has ever gotten. So maybe we'll finally have a new challenge to not talk about next year. And finally, while this slide recaps some of the most notable trends that I just discussed, it also provides a statement at the bottom, but it put it in quotes for some reason. Nobody ever said that, so I don't know why it put it in quotes. So you always have to watch, AI may create some pretty impressive things, but you always have to check the details. Thank you.